All right, welcome back to this unique episode of Stitch Method. Today we're going to be breaking it down and building it up better than ever, which, that's an opinion, but we're going to be using Gary Numan's Cars. In a live show I did on Sean Daniels' channel, I talked about how much I truly do love 80's music. And when I mean 80's music, it's not necessarily like 80's rock and metal. I mean like stereotypical like synthesizer rock. There's something in my heart I just love about it. And so I was thinking about a cool lesson that I can incorporate this into, and I think I have it down. So we're going to study Gary Numan's Cars, possibly one of my favorite tunes. Now, a quick little thing before we begin. For some reason, every time I hear a song and I'm like, I love this song, it ends up being in the key of D. I don't hear the chords. It's just for some reason, whenever I hear a song and I'm like, this is amazing, I look it up and I'm like, oh, look, it's the key of D. So let's start right there. This very famous, iconic riff. I think everyone who is alive knows this riff. And it starts off like this, right? I love that riff. Okay, so let's just talk about really quickly what's happening here. What we're going to do is we're going to break this song down just to see what's happening so you can start writing some really cool 80's melodies if you want to, or just, you know what I'm saying? And also taking this a little bit beyond where you would hear it in concert so you can actually jam on this and getting a good jam. All right, so this opening line, well, when you look at that, it starts on the D, and you have that D note here in the fourth fret of the A. And it comes in and it lands on the A. And when you look at this, it's the D, and then it goes down to the C sharp major seventh type thing, from the G to the A. And when you're focusing on D and A, bop, D, A, D, A, bop, da 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 bop, bop, G, bop, bop. The chords that this is based around is D's, A's, and G's, which is the 1, 4, and 5 in the key of G. And again, if you're new to Stitch Method, please look at my videos. I talk about 1s, 4s, and 5s all the time. They're the backbone of a lot of music. So you have this D, G, and A combo starting on a great riff. It starts on the D, does the G that slides into the A a couple times. And then we go to this F sharp to the G, boom, boom, and then the B, which is the major third of the G. So you can see some chord tones working here. You have D to the A, D, A, D, A, to G, major third G. And very easily, if you're looking at that and assessing it, you can see that it is within the D major scale. And so let's just talk about really quickly the D major scale so you can see it happening. If you go to the second fret, your D major scale physically on the guitar is going to be frets 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5. There's a root note. That's your D. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5. And starting on the D major scale, the root note, you have D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. You can see these notes are in my riff. All of them. So we have, okay. So I have a backing track that I made with my Beat Buddy pedal. I looped a drum track, and then I looped my little chords over it. And so I'm playing those chords, A and D, bump, and A and D. Da, da, da. I gotta do the whole thing, because I love it. Ba, ba, to G, ba, 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 ba. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my distortion, rule number 1, and I'm going to play this loop, and you can hear that it works out perfectly. If you're playing this riff live, I do suggest, I don't know why I'm doing this video, I do suggest that you play the riff with distortion, and then when you get to the G, make the power chord. And thicken up that end, because that's a deep little part. So let's play it one more time and show you what it sounds like when you thicken up a little bit of gravy with some power chords on this song. Okay, enough. I love this riff. Okay, so now, So we have this D major sequence, D, A's, and G's. And then something really cool happens, this little musical bridge. There's only 2 parts to this song. And Gary Numan was like a genius. I mean, like, when you see this next part and what happens, and you analyze and break it down, whether he heard it in his head, whether he used some theory, we don't know. I mean, Gary, if you want to give me a phone call, we'll talk. But what happens next is there's a solid D chord, and then comes this really just awesome bridge. And I'll play it really quickly. It's... pretty much all that over and over again. So what's happening here? Well, he's starting on a D, so we're like, okay, good. There's a D chord, and you're starting on a D note. And again, if you go look up the tabs on Ultimate Guitar, they are 100% correct, so you can follow along. I don't necessarily teach this riff to you, but I'm going to have to. But if you want to double check and learn it, go look up the tabs. They're 100% correct. So you have this, and that comes right from the D major chord shape right there. D, D, A. And then something weird happens. It's B, C, B. And when I looked at this, I'm like, well, that C has no place in a D major scale. What's happening here? That's a flat 7. And I was like, D mixolydian. I was like, okay, that's cool, maybe. But then you see the other part of the riff. And F, that has no part in being in a D major scale. So I'm looking at this and going, what scale is this? And so, what scale has all these notes? And I'm looking at all the notes. I'm saying them in my head, D, D, A, B, C, B, D, D, A, E, F, E. And I'm like, that's a C major scale. Well, that's weird. I'm like, oh, D Dorian. So let's just talk about that really quickly. He's holding a D chord, and D is the second mode of the key of C major. What's really cool though is he's playing the D major, and he's putting the D Dorian, which is a minor mode. And in several of my Stitch Method videos, I talk about when you put the minor mode on top of a major chord, it gets this rock sound. And in this case, it's played on a synthesizer, and it doesn't sound rock, it just sounds awesome. And so he took this riff and plays this D chord, and he plays this Dorian riff on top of it, which is just amazing. This little riff. Sorry. All right, and so on this vamp that he has, he's playing a D Dorian. And so you look at this simple structure of a song of part A, part B, part A, part B, and that's it. We have a D major progression, and then he vamps a D chord, and then he goes into a D Dorian riff. And hats off to you, Mr. Numan, because that is just an amazing riff. They're mowing the lawn next door. I'm not stopping this video. Sorry if the drone mowing haunts you. But now, so those are the 2 parts of the song. Now, I highly suggest that if you are in a band or you're rehearsing, play this song. And what I want you to do is I want you to jam on the end of it. And that was the breakdown. This is the rebuild. And I'm in no way making this better. I think that the song is perfect. But in case you want to jam, now for any of the fans that watch Stitch Method who are fans of Fish, you're going to get like a Down with Disease type jam on this, all right? So you can really extend this song, and you can jam out with this. No problem. And if you don't like Fish, it doesn't matter. You can still jam on this, and it's going to sound great. So this chord progression, D, A, D, A, G. You can use your D major scale. All right, so I'm going to turn on the distortion, and I'm just going to play a D major scale. For the heck of it, I will play. Let's see. I'll play 1 off the 12th right here. If you really want to get familiar with that, look up the Stitch Method major scale. Stitch Method major scale. And I'm also going to play a D major pentatonic if I want to. I'm in the key of D major, so I'm going to mix and match these. And you're going to hear that it sounds absolutely right. Like... You can survive with a D major scale on top of that whole entire jam. But what you can do is you can take use or take advantage of that G chord that sits for a second. It sits for 2 bars. I'd say I gotta figure it out. And when you have chords that are moving fast together, like D and A, D and A, you have to really stick within that key, and so the D major is going to work really well. But when you have a chord, and you find this in a lot of jam bands, and in music in general, when a chord all of a sudden moves, it's in key, but it sits there for a couple extra seconds, the gravity of the song starts to take effect to that chord, and so you can start to use scales based off of this guy. So what I'm going to do when I hit the G is I'm going to switch over to a G major scale. And what that does, and there's a little bit of theory here, G major, if you look at that in terms of, well, how does that relate to a D, because we're in the key of D, is a G major is the same exact thing as the D mixolydian scale. And so when you play this G, if you play the G major scale, it's going to sound great, but in mixolydian, the mixolydian world, the note that makes everything special is the flat 7. Now, I'm playing a G major scale, but that's D mixolydian. And the special note in D mixolydian is the C. Okay? So right now, just to show you, I'm going to play my D major scale off this 12th fret, simple one. You can see it has the C sharp in it. Whoa, calm down there. But when I play the G major scale, it has the C. And so now, what we can do is we can throw in the G major on top of the G, and let's see what it sounds like. It should sound pretty good. There, you have the D major scale for the D major part, and then the G major for the G part, creating a G major / D mixolydian. It works, just use your ears. The reason it works is because it works with your ears. Now, one thing you can do in this whole thing is you can introduce, just the last little thing, is on that G, since you're playing a mixolydian, right, a D mixolydian, G major, D mixolydian, you can throw in a D Dorian note, and I'll explain this, is in D major, the F sharp is the major third, and you'll hear that a lot on that D and A part. And then when you go to the G, you can switch mixolydian. And then you can also, G major, and since G major is D mixolydian, I'll say it like 10 times, the mixo-Dorian scale, just put the F in instead of the F major. The Dorian, the difference between a Dorian and a mixolydian is just a flat 3. The major third is F sharp and D, the minor third is F. So you can throw this whole thing in on top of that G, the G major scale, and you can put in the F if you want to. And so let's take a gander on how this all sounds. Let's see. Quick notes about jamming this out. Again, this is just a video I did on one of my favorite tunes, and I hope it makes sense. You're jamming on D major for the D, you're jamming on G major, throw in the F if you like to. That G is only held for 2 beats, so it kind of throws you for a second because the D comes back quick. One thing I just want to talk about ending the solo is you definitely, I have a 22 fret Les Paul, and that 22nd fret is a D, so that's a target note to hit your solo. And so if you want to learn more about where you can find all these scales, please check out my channel. The Stitch Method major scale will help you find that D everywhere. My pentatonics videos will help you get there. But it's a quick word of advice. When you're playing the D major scale here, you can really get to a D major scale up here around the 17th fret area. And I'll show it to you really quickly. I'll come off the D, but it's right here. Here's your D. And you have, just fret-wise, okay? 17, 19, 16, 17, 19, 16, 18, 19, 17, 19, 20, 17, 19. It's so hard to say the fret numbers when you're concentrating. But that last note is your target. And so you want to, you can use the scale, get into this scale, and then you can find a G major scale up here. I know you can do it for the G, and then when you're about to finish, so let's see if I can get there. And so the whole purpose of this is go play this song live, rip the beginning, let everybody get, happy with it, and then blow their minds with an awesome jam at the end. Here we go. Enough of the shenanigans. I hope you're enjoying this video. I wanted to bring something that I truly love, which is this song, and showing you guys how to just take a little bit more advantage of it if you want to play it live. So I hope you enjoyed this. Go play the song. Go look at all the things I said. Ask any questions about what I just said in the comments below, and then I will address all of the questions and comments in Thursday's live feed. Thank you so much for being here. Quick study about Gary Numan's Cars, one of the greatest songs ever.